What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today, BTC USD. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, you guys, and let's get into it, all right? It is the 29th day of June, and here we are at about 107.9. We're basically at 108K, hitting a high today of $108.5 thousand. We're in a precarious situation right now, my friends. We're in a precarious situation because on a 4-hour time frame, if we're looking at this here, if it'll load, I might even just turn up the speed on this thing real quick. Hold on. It's going to be a little noisier, but who cares? $108,000 right now. We do have bearish divergence at the top here, and that's a pretty wicked rejection off the overbought zone. 51 minutes left in this 4-hour candle. Can we come up 0.47%? Can we come up that much and close this hour green? I think we can. It's possible. It's not a lot of volume, but it is the most volume that we've seen really since Friday. So, you know, for a weekend pump, it's not bad. If we can come up by the end of this 4-hour candle, there's a very strong possibility that this will continue onwards. Because what we've done, again, if we find support and we can continue to move up, what we've done effectively is we've broken out with low volume, which is not encouraging to be fair, but broken out, back tested, prior resistance for support, made it look, you know, at the base of this like we were going to reject, like this bearish divergence was real, and to a certain degree even, we even completed the bearish divergence because your move went down right where the divergence started and actually came back up after that. So looking at this here, there's hope. You know, it depends on what we do. By the time you guys watch this, there's hope that we might just move up and we might absolve going lower entirely, which would be crazy. It'd be pretty crazy, but man, from a low to a high here, low to a high here, it's not common to do what you're doing here, right? And not hit the 236 at all, not hit the 382. This is very uncommon, very bullish behavior. And we'll take very bullish behavior, especially being around all-time highs, guys. We don't know. Any day now, we could be at new all-time highs. It could be by the end of today. Hell, it might be. It's probably going to be sometime this next week, but it's very possible that we still could go down. And I want to keep that. I want to keep you guys aware of that. Right, from a low to a high, we very well still could go down just below 106K, down to 104K, somewhere around there, and potentially even lower than this low. That is still possible, as long as we are in this downward sloping trend, which we have right now, right? We've got a high here, lower high, lower lows throughout the whole thing. What if we come down and we find a lower low? Now, the one thing that makes me skeptical of that right now is just looking at this. You know, I was, or at least more skeptical of that now than I was on these first days here. It would have made sense here to come down and do that bear trap like I was talking about, right? A quick rejection. But now that we've had a few days, like basically a business week, 5 days up here, consolidating like this, it's a bit different than the prior two times that we found resistance, right? Here, when you found resistance, you went down. Here, when you found resistance, you went down rather immediately, right? Consolidated here for 4 or 5 days, and then you went lower. Consolidated here for 4 or 5 days, we might go higher. Different behavior begets different results. And if we look at this daily RSI, I think we are. If today closes here or higher, I mean, yeah, we've broken out of this already, man. We've actually broken out of this downtrend already. What if I connect it here? I thought we hadn't broken out of it. Maybe that's how you would draw it. Something like that. Anyways, at any rate, whatever. I think it would be bullish to close here or higher today, and that might absolve us of going lower. Let's look at the short-term stuff and see where I went wrong. I know where I went wrong. Where did I go wrong? What do you mean you went wrong, Cesar? I thought the price was going to go down. That's what I mean. I mean, you know, not always going to be right. Can't always be right. Can't always be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. It's just kind of how it is. 15-minute RSI looks very bullish right now, right? Back here, before the pump, looked like we were rejecting our overbought zone. Overbought, oversold, rejecting the overbought zone. Would have assumed that we would go down. But you held the 40 twice. And by the time you came up here, you got overbought. That's very bullish. If you flipped long right in the overbought zone here, you actually would have caught the majority of this move. So the RSI didn't lie there. It was just a little tricky. It was a little, I wouldn't say deceptive. It was a little bit uncertain back here. Now it's a little bit more certain, right? Here on the 15-minute time frame, we're at the same areas and even providing higher lows going through this, right? We're at the same areas that we found support before, but here we're getting deep into the overbought zone. That's the strongest reading we've seen in a second. I don't think it's over here, personally. I don't think that that's the end of it. I think that we would at least come up and find some resistance there, you know, at the overbought zone, something like that. We would at least do that. That's my expectation. If not, maybe even go higher, get another drive in there, maybe even go deeper. But that's a pretty deep reading, man, getting into the 90s on any time frame. But it's the 15-minute time frame, nothing too crazy, right? Bearish divergence at the top, makes sense that we pulled back a little bit. perhaps what we're doing right now is we're back testing this prior area of support for resistance. Maybe that's what we're doing right here. And if we do that and we revert back down, if we're back down at like 107.8K by the time this 4-hour candle closes, or even just here, I would think that maybe we are going a little bit lower. But that doesn't mean we have to. That doesn't mean that we have to go down to the targets that we were thinking about the past 5 days, down at 106K to 104K essentially, right? Or even lower than that possibly. If you look at the 1-hour time frame, here's where I really think I went wrong, and I addressed it a couple of times, and I ignored it, man. Was that we had a downtrend, and that it turned into a sideways trend. But I just didn't accept it because typically downtrends don't end until you're in the oversold zone. But I should have just accepted it, man, because it was telling us right here, when you revert your downtrend into a sideways trend, you're likely going to, the next step would be to move up. You don't go down, sideways, and then down. That's not as normal. I mean, in bearish situations, yes. But typically, if you're in a bearish situation, what you'll do is you'll go down to the oversold zone, and then you'll just be in a sideways trend that gets in and out of the oversold zone, and that's very bearish right down there. But like this was a kind of bullish setup. And just, I'm pointing out this mistake that I made. It was definitely a mistake because I didn't accept it. I saw it and I didn't accept it. You can go back and watch my video from probably like Friday, and I mentioned this, and I even like got hung up on it for a second in that video, I remember. And I was like, no, we got to go lower. But that's because my bias was to the downside. And that happens. That happens, man. It happens to all of us. Rejecting this area that we've rejected before, continuously getting overbought and not getting oversold. Overall, man, you're dominant. You're in a bullish position. You're actually at a point right now in the RSI where you'd like to bounce off the 60, an area that you found resistance before, an area that you found support before over here when you were getting overbought and you were continuing to grow. I mean, it would make a lot of sense that we continue to grow here. That's just my expectation. At the moment, I've definitely flipped bullish. And we've been bullish. We've been bullish to 170, 180K for months now, of course, but momentarily bearish for a little bit of recourse to the downside. But let's see. I mean, the 4-hour RSI, I will say, closing this candle red would not look good, right? Rejecting the overbought zone would not look good. Have we done this recently and amounted to anything good? I mean, that's like a rejection. No. Didn't result in good things. Rejected here. No, not good. Rejected here. You bounced above the 50 and then came back up, but still came back down, inevitably going up. A little bit of volatility. Rejecting here, going to the 50. Each time in recent history that you've rejected the overbought zone, and typically this is how it is, whenever you reject the overbought zone, you go to the 50 at least on the RSI. So that would actually call for a bit of a move down. Nothing too crazy, right? But maybe we go back to like 107.5K. It wouldn't be terrible. It's not like if this 4-hour candle closes red that we're going to the depths now, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you're looking for this move to activate right now and send us higher right now, it wouldn't be beneficial for this candle to close red. At least not in my opinion, but maybe it does. And if it does, that's okay. But the shorter term time frames are looking bullish. They're in areas that you would expect them to bounce. But we'll see how it goes. It really falls on this next, this next 44 minutes here. So all in all, the idea that we could still go down to about 105 to 103K, 106, 104K, whatever it is. Let's see. 106 just below there, 104 just above there, somewhere in that area, right? The idea that we could go down there is still alive. It's very possible. This could just be a fake out. And if it is, we might go down there, find some support, and then continue to rally afterwards, right? That'd be the expectation. If we go lower, it's okay. But at this point in time, I wouldn't really expect that we go to 95 to 93K. I don't think that we would go down there. It is still possible. It absolutely is. And until we break out of this trend, this lower high trend, until we get above maybe a 3-day candle to close above about 109K, a daily candle to close above 110K. Let's see. Actually, I don't know. What would it take? High to low. Yeah, 110 and a half. Once we get above this high, essentially, that's when we validate that no longer are prices below this low a concern. And they're not even. It's a possible outcome. Inevitably, regardless of what happens up or down in the short term, over the weeks to come, in July, through the month of July, and I think even going into August, we will be continuing higher, up to about $170,000, $180,000, maybe even more than that is what I'm thinking, probably like around 185. From here, I mean, hey man, 8 hours, 42 minutes left. If we could bullishly engulf, look at closing this week right here would be actually a very, very bullish indication as well, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of closing prices all engulfed. You're effectively engulfing this whole range in just 1 week's time. If in the next 8 hours and 42 minutes we can come up and close above this weekly high close here at $109,000, we can get above 109K by the end of today in the next 8 hours, 42 minutes. I don't think that's asking for a whole lot, right? Let's see. From the current price, what is that? It's about a 1% move. If we can do that in 8 hours, I think we can, then we engulf this whole consolidation range that we've been at since really since May. And that would be a very, very bullish sign that we are ready to continue to new all-time highs, and we'll probably just rip right through 120K, going up to 130, 140K, something like that, make a pit stop, and then continue to rip and run going into the rest of the month of July and into August, seeing 180K and prices around there. I don't think I have anything else that I want to say. The week closing green, which I think at this point we can assume that it will close green, right? 8 hours, 41 minutes left. I doubt we drop 6%. Even if we drop 4% from here, 1%, 5%, I doubt that we close it red. So closing green is nice because we're inching ever closer to this overbought zone. And if and when we get overbought, it's on. It's on. It's undisputably on, you guys. It's going to be phenomenal the weeks ahead. So I got nothing else. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Okay, take care of yourselves. Bye.